Russia's big aircraft addition this update is the Su-34. Believe it or not, there are actually people in the world that think this jet looks cool, and to them I would say you're delusional. I wouldn't say it's ugly because it's pretty hard to make a fighter-esque looking aircraft to be ugly, but it does completely ruin the look of the Su-27 in my opinion. Speaking of Su-27, this thing, in ARB anyways, is pretty much just worse than the Su-27 in every single way possible. If you already have the Su-27 SM and you're looking to play air battles, just play that. Don't play the Su-34. I mean, obviously you can if you want, but you're really missing out by not playing the Su-27. And so to make things fun and make things interesting, I elected to record all of the gameplay for this video without using a single R-77 to get an air-to-air kill, and in fact, I'm using air-to-ground missiles in an attempt to get an air-to-air kill right now in the form of the KH-38MT. Did it work? No, but I did try, and I did it for you guys so that you'd have something more fun to watch, considering that this thing, as I said, is literally just a worse Su-27 SM. I keep saying that, but in what ways is it worse? Well, for the obvious, it's way heavier, it's way fatter, and while the engines are upgraded a little bit in terms of more thrust capability than the Su-27 SM, it does not offset the massive weight increase that you get with the Su-34, so it actually has considerably worse thrust to weight than the Su-27 SM. Another big issue is that you lose the HMD, not only the radar HMD, but you also lose your ability to slave the R-73 IR seeker with your HMD, so you can't even use high off bore sight R-73. You can try to use tall ACM mode as you pull into a target to give yourself a little bit of an earlier launch, but other than that, like I said, you're just going to be flying the seeker of the missile right over your target and then pressing fire. The one thing about the Su-34 that is actually an upgrade over the Su-27 SM for air-to-air is the radar. It does not take a literal year to scan the sky with this radar. The radar is actually pretty nice. Unfortunately, it's also, well, it's mainly a ground attack aircraft, so there's ground attack modes on the radar that you have to cycle through. A little bit annoying when you're playing ARP, but of course, if you're a ground player, maybe you like that. And I forgot one more big upgrade over the Su-27 SM. You have a whole 2 more countermeasures at 98 rather than 96. That should translate into 1 more press of the key. On a serious note though, it does have the ability to carry 6 R-27 ETs rather than 4 that the Su-27 has, so I mean, I guess that's kind of cool and unique. I wouldn't necessarily call it an upgrade because nobody actually uses IR missiles anymore. Maybe an Su-27 player is going to carry 2 ETs at most, and either plane can do that, so really not a big deal. But since that is what makes this plane unique in air-to-air over the Su-27, that's the loadout I'm running for the gameplay, trying to get as many 27 ET kills as possible, and I also start using the R-27ER because, like I said, we'll make it interesting, we'll make it fun, no Fox 3 allowed, and I gotta say it was actually kind of fun going back in time with SAR gameplay and IR gameplay, no HMD. It was kind of a blast from the past, and honestly, enjoyable footage to get. Overall, you have 10 missile pylons instead of 12 that the Su-27 SM has, so you lose 2 missiles if you're going to use this thing as an air-to-air fighter. It can carry R-77s, of course, it carries R-27ERs, R-27 ETs, and R-73s. Of course, the bread and butter of this plane, and the entire point of it even existing, is going to be for ground attack, and for ground attack, this thing is actually extremely strong. Specifically because of those KH-38 missiles that you saw me playing around with earlier, trying to get an air kill with. They're actually very powerful in tank RB, and you can carry 6 of them, I believe, and that's quite the payload. So again, if you're a tanker and you need some CAS for top tier Russia, fantastic plane, I'm sure. I don't play tank battles really, so I'm not really in the know about what's the best CAS, what isn't, but I'd really have a hard time seeing this plane not being worth it to pick up for some CAS support in ground RB. It looks extremely strong, your weapon selection is very nice, you get a lot of them, there's really nothing to complain about. If you are going to play this thing for real and not goof off like me, your loadout is probably going to be 2 R-73s, 1 on each wingtip, and then 8 R-77s. The R-77, of course, is definitely not the best Fox 3 missile in the game right now by any means whatsoever, but any Fox 3 missile is definitely usable. It's just a matter of how close you're going to have to get to your target, how much work you're going to have to put into getting that proper launch and launch range and all that kind of stuff. One of the really nice things about the R-77 though is that it pulls extremely hard. In fact, as far as the non-thrust vectoring missiles go for active radar homing missiles, the R-77 pulls the hardest, making it very useful in the conventional notch and chaff, high off boresight HMD at Fox 3, rinse and repeat fighting that most of the fights devolve into if you're in a 1 versus 1 situation with anybody that has somewhat of a clue of what they're doing. You want to get your missile off as soon as possible, you want to get into that notch, drop your chaff, and then repeat the process, getting that HMD lock, slinging off that missile, going 90 degrees once again right away. Whoever can do that the fastest and the most effectively is going to be the winner of that fight. The R77 with HMD lends itself very well to this, but the problem is, again, with the Su-34, you don't get an HMD. Actually winning a dual Fox 3 fight, any kind of BVR fight with somebody that's actually pretty good at the game is not going to be very likely, just because of how important that radar HMD is to getting off your shot and then getting defensive as soon as possible. Somebody that's attacking you is going to be able to keep you on your heels very easily, and you're kind of always going to be fighting from the back foot. But this is of course only if you're fighting somebody that has any kind of clue what they're doing, which, let's be honest, top tier anymore, and really for the longest time hasn't been the most skillful area of the game. You're going to be finding plenty of people that have no clue what they're doing. It doesn't matter what plane you're using, it doesn't matter what missile you're using, you're going to be able to get some kills here. Especially so now that people are forking up $80 for the privilege of playing AMRAAMs in a premium vehicle. I'm sure they're not going to be the most difficult targets to take down, even with your lack of HMD and your short range, relatively short range R77s. I've never really been the biggest fan of the flankers, at least in War Thunder obviously. I think they're pretty neat in real life, they look really cool. Obviously not an F-15 or anything like that, but that being said, I wish the Su-27s and even the Su-34 felt a little better to fly in this game. The flight models are very obviously not very well crafted with instructor in mind. In simulator battles where you're flying full wheel control, joystick and throttle, that kind of thing, they're actually not terrible from what I hear. But when it comes to flying mouse and keyboard and instructor flying the plane for you, it's definitely not very optimized, and therefore they're not very good at dogfighting. They can't really win sustained fights, and I think it's kind of a shame. I would really like to see GAIJIN tweak the way the Sukhois fly to make them not such a speed bleeding shitbus. Then again, the Su-27 might not be all that in real life anyways. Of course, we only ever see them flying in air shows. Who knows what they're actually capable of in sustained 1 versus 1s. Closing out the video with a short range R73 kill. I did have a lot of fun playing with the R73s. Just got to radar lock somebody to kind of minimize their ability to pre-flay your missile, get about 1.5 kilometers away, let it rip, and they're probably just not going to be flaring it. And if you're close enough, you don't even have to worry about radar slaving. It'll just find the target through the flares anyway. So there you have it, top tier with no Fox 3 missiles. Hope you guys enjoyed. Happy grinding, and I'll see you later.